Hello everyone, I'm 𝗥𝗲𝗡𝗆 with the International Foundation for Cultural Property Protection. Today I'm delighted to welcome Matthew McCall, co-architect of 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗵 and co-founder and director of Majestic Collaborations. Matthew is a festival coordinator, artistic director, spokesperson, musician, and community leader. His consulting work with performing arts readiness spans agencies, festivals, and venues with a focus on emergency and disaster preparedness. Since 2005, Matthew has organized hundreds of gatherings and worked with organizations including Denver Arts and Venues, the Canadian government, New Belgium Tour de Fête, and the Five Points Jazz Festival. Collectively, these events have raised more than $5 million to support locally directed initiatives and advocacy. Matthew also envisions the Art of Mass Gathering Symposium, an experimental learning platform designed to bring multiple stakeholders together for emergency preparedness training. On August 26th, Matthew will present an IFCPP webinar titled Ready When the Lights Go Out, Anchor Institutions, Anchor People, and Preparedness Under Pressure. Matthew, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Petra. I'm glad to be here and to share this with your IFCPP folks.
Let's start with the central question. What is 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗵 and what inspired its creation?
Thanks for asking. The 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗵 idea has grown out of the art of mass gatherings that was an experiential learning using festivals and venues as a place to build relationships, skills, and think about what we would need during an emergency. And arts and cultural organizations are particularly important because they already know how to bring people together, communicate with the public, manage mass gatherings, solve problems quickly, and respond when circumstances change. So we help those organizations build on those existing capabilities and consider how they can be strengthened when the disruption happens. And then the tabletop is one of the first ways in, and that moves through some other ways of learning through a 15-hour certificate and the 5% for preparedness work that we're also doing.
Great. The webinar title refers to both anchor institutions and anchor people. What do these terms mean?
Well, an anchor institution is a trusted and established part of a community. It could be a bricks and mortar place like a museum or library, performing arts center, but it could also be a festival organization or cultural venue where people regularly gather. These institutions may have physical space, communications systems, trained staff, equipment, strong relationships, and the public's trust. However, these buildings don't respond on their own to emergencies that people do. Anchor people are the individuals who understand the institution, know the community, they maintain relationships, and can help others coordinate and make decisions under pressure. And then preparedness becomes much more effective when these institutions and people work together.
So an organization may already have more emergency response capacity than it realizes.
Yeah, exactly. The first step is recognizing what's already there and then identifying the relationships and capabilities that still need to be developed.
Why are museum, libraries, performing arts venues, festival, and other cultural organizations so important during a community disruption?
These cultural institutions are often places people already know and trust, and they have a communication channels, facilities, staff, volunteers, venues, and strong community networks. And their teams regularly manage complex situations. They welcome visitors, coordinate events, move people through spaces, and communicate changing information. They work with outside partners and solve unexpected problems in real time. These are valuable operational skills during emergencies. ReadyWin encourages cultural organizations to think about how their everyday capabilities could support their employees, visitors, neighbors, and emergency management partners during a crisis.
Yes, that's really good. Your webinar places participant in a situation where extreme heat is building and electrical power becomes uncertain. Why did you choose that scenario?
Well, this extreme heat and power disruption challenge is both immediate and it's interconnected, and it's quite a bit of our current moment, as we've seen this summer. When the power becomes unreliable, these institutions will need to consider how their staff and communication systems, visitors, transportation, and vulnerable members will respond to that. And then the situation would continue to change. The participants must make decisions without knowing exactly what will happen next or when normal services will return. That uncertainty is important because real emergencies rarely unfold according to a perfect plan. The scenario gives participants a safe environment in which to examine how they communicate, establish priorities, share information, and make decisions under pressure.
This is described as a facilitated game-based preparedness experience. What can participants expect?
The participants will be introduced to a developing scenario and asked to consider how they and their organizations will respond as conditions change. Rather than simply listening to a presentation about emergency plans, they'll have an opportunity to think through decisions, discuss priorities, and consider the consequences of different choices. The purpose is not to test people or to catch them making a mistake. It is to create conversation and reveal questions that may not arise during a traditional presentation. A game-based exercise makes preparedness more engaging, memorable, and collaborative. It allows people to practice thinking under pressure before they have to do it during a real emergency.
What do organizations often discover when they participate in an exercise like this?
Well, they frequently discover that preparedness is not just about having an emergency plan stored in a binder. A plan is important, but people must also understand it, practice it, and know who they will work with. An exercise may reveal unclear responsibilities, outdated contact information, communication gaps, assumptions about available resources, or partnerships that have not yet been established. It also reveals strengths. Participants often realize that they already have useful experience, strong relationships, and practical capabilities that can become important during an emergency.
Many smaller cultural institutions have limited budgets and very small teams. Can they still benefit from ReadyWin?
Absolutely. Preparedness does not always begin with expensive equipment or large emergency management departments. It can begin with a conversation. Who are your neighbors? Who depends on us? Who has access to the building? How will we communicate if normal systems are unavailable? What resources do we already have? Who should we know before an emergency occurs? Relationships, communication, clear responsibilities, and regular practice are incredibly valuable. Even a small institution can make meaningful steps by identifying its capabilities, building local partnerships, and discussing realistic scenarios with its team.
And who would you say would benefit most from attending this webinar?
This webinar is going to be valuable for security professionals, emergency planners, museum and library administrators, collection staffs, facilities teams, event professionals, visitor service personnel, and organizational leaders. It is also useful for anyone responsible for staff, visitors, buildings, collections, programs, or community relationships. Preparedness involves the entire organization. The more departments understand one another's responsibilities and capabilities, the better the institution can respond when conditions change.
And what is the most important idea you hope attendees will take away from this presentation?
I hope that the attendees recognize that preparedness is ultimately about people and relationships. Cultural institutions already have tremendous capacity for connection, coordination, communication, and care. The goal is to recognize that capacity, strengthen it, and continue it with the wider community before disruption occurs. We should not wait until the lights go out to decide who we trust, who we can call, and how we will work together.
That's a very powerful message. Preparedness begins before an emergency and begins with people. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us and giving us this preview today. Please join Matthew McCall for Ready When the Lights Go Out, Anchor Institution, Anchor People, and Preparedness Under Pressure. The free webinar will take place live on Zoom on Wednesday, August 26, 2026 at 11 a.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. The program will include a 45-minute presentation followed by a live question and answer session and open forum. Registration is free for IFCPP members. Please learn more at ifcpp.org. Matthew, thank you again. We look forward to seeing you on August 26th.
Great. I'm looking forward to the conversation and hope everyone can join us.
Thank you.